I'm going to say a word, and from there, the fountain will spring. Responsitivity. There it is. Is it a word?
This could be like $1 million business. Responsitivity.
Responsitivity is what we call, in the rap trade, a mashup.
I can't believe you just said mashup.
I did. It's a mashup.
If any of my children could hear
that's
you
exactly
saying
what
mashup.
I literally just thought that.
Oh, you're such
I'd
a
be
loser.
Oh, Auntie Philippa, you're so embarrassing. Is your first response always the problem? And here's the responsitivity shift. It's not that we're consciously looking for the negative. It's just a pattern response.
Yeah.
That we look for the negative before we look for the gift. And we're going to talk about why we do it, what that coding is, and how we can overcome it. And we're talking about intentional choice to respond with positivity. Once we get into the habit of this, it can become our sort of more of an autopilot way of operating. I certainly feel that over the years I've been, doing this kind of work. It's not that I always respond in a responsitivity way, but I definitely do it more often. Yeah. I'm definitely more conscious of it. So we can get there. Yeah.
And it's really, really important. So let's talk first of all some of the places we can think about this.
Hello, my name's Philippa Waller.
My name is Penelope Waller, and we are two of the directors at 4D Human Being.
And welcome to the 4D Human Being podcast. What's it all about, Pen?
It's all about your personal and professional relationships. It's about your communication skills, how you lead, how you work and build teams, how you are looking after yourself and your well-being, and how you are much more at choice. What do we mean by that?
Well, sometimes we can get a little caught in patterns in life, and we can all be a little bit on our automatic pilot. So 4D Human Being is all about helping us get back to choice and being a four-dimensional human being. And your fourth dimension, of course,
is intention. So whether it's about your impact, your leadership style, your team dynamics, whether it's about your well-being, whether it's about your communication or your presentation skills, anything that involves human beings interacting with other human beings, 4D Human Being are here to help.
we're going to take a deep dive and look at some tools, insights, theories that are going to help you go from a 3D human doing to a 4D human being, so that you can happen to the world rather than the world simply happening to you. Testing and drinking.
Staying hydrated.
Stay hydrated.
It's another scorcher.
It's just gone up, hasn't it? It's like the temperature is like an ECG in a hospital in a slightly terrifying way. Well, it's just shot up, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's suddenly panting dogs in the footwell of a car. Because that's the barometer.
I was thinking more ice cubes clinking in a glass or sitting by a river, but you're thinking panting dogs in the footwell of a car.
Yes.
So we all have different summer experiences.
It's all hot dogs, isn't it?
Fair enough.
Nearly the 4th of July. And my hot dogs are literal hot dogs.
They are literal hot dogs.
Yeah. So welcome to the first in 2 episodes, taking us into the summer.
Yeah, we've enjoyed this, Phil, for a couple of reasons, haven't we? Because summer for us means we can go a little bit off-piste.
A little bit rogue.
Although I do wonder if we're on piste for the rest of the year. But anyway, we decided, let's have a little bit of sort of fun. Let's think of some things that we just really want to have some fun with and talk about before we come to our kind of back-to-school season, when we get a bit more serious. Although we're never
that serious.
No.
And also, this is something
we
really notice a lot. And I'm going to say a word, and from there, the fountain will spring. Responsitivity. There it is.
You are so proud of that. In fact, I said put a little copyright C at the end of it, Phil.
Is it a word?
This could be like $1 million business. Responsitivity.
$1 million.
So, Phil, do you want to unpack that for the few people who wouldn't have worked that out?
Responsitivity is what we call, in the rap trade, a mashup.
I can't believe you just said mashup.
I did. It's a mashup.
If any of my children could hear
that's
you
exactly
saying
what
mashup.
I literally just thought that.
Oh, you're such a
like,
loser.
Oh, Auntie Philippa, you're so embarrassing. Responsitivity is a mashup of response and positivity.
Oh, I love it.
And the reason we are talking about responsitivity, just one more time.
It's a word now.
Mashup of response
That's a
and
thing.
positivity. It's a thing. As soon as you've said it,
It becomes a thing.
it's a thing.
It wasn't a thing.
And now it's a thing. And the reason we're
You're
talking...
so proud of us. I can't tell you, listeners, how many times I have heard the word responsitivity over the past couple of weeks.
I'm shuffling my papers like a newsreader because it's like a headline. It's like a what do we call it? Like a breaking news. Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Responsitivity is the new word of the summer 2026. The responsitivity shift. So is your first response always the problem? And here's the responsitivity shift. Because you and I mean, it's something
it's like once you see it,
Yeah.
you can't unsee it.
and we've always talked about it. We just had a real run of it recently where we were sort of laughing about the fact that you could say something really neutral or really innocuous or really nice to somebody. And we notice how often we get but this is the problem with it.
Yeah, it's not even that language. Like, it's so, like, people don't even realise that they've gone into the problem. I commented
On someone
about they had a tattoo.
Yeah.
And they immediately told me what they didn't like about the tattoo.
Yes, what the problem was when they'd had it done.
Yeah, and it's just once you start noticing it, I don't think it's a particularly just British thing, although we are pretty brilliant at it.
Yeah.
I think culturally there probably are differences, and I think a lot of us do it, and we'll talk about why we do it. And also, once you see this,
you can't unsee it.
you can't unsee it, Phil.
So if I give you, and this is of course personal and professional. This is work and home. And so if I give you 3 examples, just quick, short moments that you'll probably all recognise. So 1, you've just done a presentation. Somebody says to you, that was really, really great. I really loved it. And your response is, and it could be the other way around. It could be you complimenting them and you hear this response. We do it and other people do it. Really loved your presentation. Well done. I don't know. I think I rushed the second half and the slides weren't right. How often do you hear that kind of response? Second moment. These are just examples. Manager asks their team in a general update, how's everyone doing? First person to speak, well, to be honest, I'm a bit swamped at the moment. And there's, it's been a lot. A second agrees and the third says, it's been really stressful. And there we go. There's the dominoes. Very good. Nobody mentions anything good because you've already set the tone. You've already set the negativity, not the responsitivity, Pen. I'll be using that word regularly throughout. And then moment 3, as a leader or as a team member, you want to celebrate a target that's been hit and you say, it's great, this target's been hit. And the first words out of the leader's mouth or the project owner's mouth is, yeah, great, but it didn't have to take so long, did it?
Yeah.
We missed a couple of deadlines. 1 second later, room has deflated. Now,
Can I also add, just in terms of our personal lives, and I'm sure we'll get onto this, notice it, partners, siblings, your children, nieces and nephews, when you're listening to them or observing them and there's something is required. So I'll give you an example. So like, let's say my kids are doing an online lesson or some homework or something with a tutor and I can hear them in the background. My brain processing is immediately thinking of listening to it, working what's good, and then I go to the negative, and then I think of what I need to tell them to
do
change
better or change,
something. But of course, they haven't been inside my head.
it's
for
going
all
through
of
the
that
process.
processing and all of the good stuff. And so when I speak, I think, well, I've done that bit. So I only need to say that bit, but that's the only bit they hear.
That's the only bit. And there's lots of reasons why we go to the negative, we go to the problem. So we're going to look at that. It's really common. This is not to beat ourselves up about it. And, if you think about those examples and what you've just said, Pen, about, responding to something that needs doing or
isn't quite working
or responding to. It's not that we're consciously looking for the negative. It's just a pattern response. But we look for the negative before we look for the gift. And we're going to talk about why we do it, what that coding is and how we can overcome it. And of course, in 4D language, we're really talking about firing up that 4th dimension. Remember the dimensions: physical, emotional, intellectual, and the 4th dimension, intentional. And when we have such strong evolutionary patterns like this, and very good reasons why, hardwiring, all of that, we have to fire up that 4th dimension. and make it a conscious choice. We can't wake up one day and say, I'm just going to be more positive today and hope that that's just going to start happening.
Done.
It's like saying I'm going to learn Italian and hope that somehow that just gets into your brain. It's a choice moment to moment.
Yeah, and the first stage of that...
Responsitivity, I'm saying it again.
Such a good word, Phil. Such a good word. The first part of that, of course, is awareness. And I do sometimes say to my clients, I don't know if this is 100% true. I haven't done the scientific research on it, but I do sometimes say to them, look, awareness is sort of 90% of the journey. It's 90% of the work, because once you see things like this, it's really, really challenging to stay stuck in your patterns, because it's like, we did an episode, didn't we, once on that part of our brain where it's like a sort of programming system.
Yeah, the default mode,
The rectivating.
Yeah, be careful how you say that.
It's not that. It's not that. It's the RSA.
Yes.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Point being that once you bring something into your consciousness, like we gave the example on the episode, if you bring into your consciousness red cars, you will just see red cars. So now you've brought into your consciousness, people seem to respond to questions and things with the sort of problems or the negative. Now you won't be able to see it. And that is sort of almost 90% of the work, because you almost can't...
What you mean that's all you can see, you mean? You won't be able to not see it.
Yeah, you won't be able to not see it.
Yeah.
And I guess what I would say to that is we'll give you some tips and tools about how to sort of overcome it. But once you've raised that awareness level, it's difficult not to do anything about it, because it's like it's screaming at you every day and you can't see anything else.
Interestingly, at that point, to not do anything about it is an active choice.
Yes.
To remain negative or whatever the thing is.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're going to look at...
If you heard that noise, that was...
that was a squeaky toy.
That was Humphrey stepping on a squeaky ferret.
It was. And there might be a little bit of a war breaking out. He's got his dirty squeaky bunny.
We've got the dogs in here, yeah.
So what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to talk about why this happens. So the what in terms of the negativity bias, which leads us to perhaps say things that are a bit more humble, negative, problematic than we need to. The neuroscience behind it, how to really spot it, and then we'll set you up for episode 2 where we'll really talk about how we can shift into different ways of responding, and also why this is important.
Yeah,
because it's really important.
Yeah, and actually it's a big game changer in life.
Yeah,
and opportunities and success and your personal profile.
Yeah,
which of course, early plug. is a series on 4D on demand. You can buy our personal profile, which has so many tools on how to really show up as the kind of I'm doing bunny ears here, brand, reputation profile that you want to.
how people see you.
What it's like to work with you.
Yeah.
So let's start with negativity bias. This is the internal piece, because really what we're mainly talking to is, we're talking about, there we go.
Yeah, they're fighting over the bunny and the ferret.
The fight over the bunny and the ferret. The ferret, yeah. So, that growl from yours. If the
listeners could see him, he's so unterrifying in person.
Yes, and yet the noise. Yeah, which is useful for,
Well, it's all he's got, Phil.
It's all he's got, exactly. He's only got the vocals. He hasn't got the size.
He's playing to his strength.
He's playing to his strength, Ben. Just don't. If you don't see him,
you're fine.
He could be a Doberman.
Exactly.
Okay. So we're mainly looking at raising internal awareness, and ultimately what we're really interested in is the communication bit, is how you are in relationship and how you communicate.
And I would also say, whilst we're not necessarily talking about this on this episode, of course, that internal piece can often be unhelpful in terms of what we think about ourselves as well.
Absolutely, exactly. Yeah. So we're going to start with...
But this is responsitivity, which is talking to responses.
It's talking to responses, but to understand where it comes from, which starts with our negativity bias. This is really well documented. It's from our evolution. Let's say we're on the savannah. It's much more useful to us to spot the predator than it is to spot the pretty flower. Yeah. So it's not that that's not nice to spot the pretty flower, but if we don't spot the pretty flower, we've missed out on a moment of potential salad garnish or a nice visual stimuli. If we don't see the tiger, we risk death.
We've missed out on life.
So exactly. So negativity bias has developed and evolved for a very good reason. But we have to be super aware of it when we step into a meeting and there's no tiger. But there might be lots of really nice flowers for us to celebrate. So it is not a personality flaw. If you find yourself being negative, particularly, I'm going to say these words, I hope this isn't ageist, but particularly as we get older, the reason I think it's okay to say that is because we have practiced our neural pathways, have had more time to bed into that evolutionary process. So I think it's fair. It's because it's not personal. It's not a bad attitude. It's not that you have a pessimistic personality. For most of history, a threat could kill you. Yeah. So we've learnt to check in with the negative. And that does mean, unfortunately, though, when we are in a conversation and someone says, "Oh, I like your dress," we'll go, "Well, it wasn't really the colour that I originally wanted." Because
it was only £10.
Or it was only £10. We always look for the kind of bit. Because,
I've had it for years.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas that probably came from, "Oh, this is an interesting place. Oh, yeah, but there's a tiger on the landscape." So this is where it came from. Neuroscientists also call this the negativity dominance principle. And researchers Rick Hansen and Richard Mendius have described this as, I love this, think about Teflon and Velcro. And the Teflon experience is the positive just runs off you like true. Teflon. So you say, you give someone a compliment after a presentation and it sort of runs off you and you don't hold it, or you get a bunch of feedback, 10 great things but one negative. The positive run off you like Teflon.
True.
And in fact, somebody says to you, or reports, we've had this with people who send me the reports and say, "Oh, it's terrible," and I read it, I go, "It's really good." And I say to them, "Can you tell me some of the good stuff in that?" And they can't remember. It's like Teflon. They have not absorbed
and
it.
you know, often what people say, and I think this kind of plays into this pattern and sort of exaggerates it, is often when we're in workshops, people will say, "Can you just tell me the bad stuff?"
Yeah.
It's almost like, let's just cut to the chase. Yeah. That's all I need to know.
Because anyway, I won't listen to the good stuff anyway, because it's Teflon. It's just Teflon. It's going to run off like Teflon. And then the Velcro, of course, is the negative, which is you barely have to say. It's like seeds in my dog's hair at this time of year. It barely needs to touch. And it's stuck. And I spend my evenings picking seeds out. And that's what we've got to do with the negativity, isn't it? It's like Velcro. Somebody says, "Well, yeah, it was okay." That is going to stick like it's the most negative comment.
So you can really understand, based on that principle and how our brains work, you can really understand why when somebody says to you, for example, "Did you have a nice holiday?" It makes perfect sense that the sticky thing at the front of your mind
was the bad food in that restaurant.
It was the bad food you had in that one restaurant, despite
because that's what you remember.
Exactly, despite the other 13 days, because the other 13 days of sort of nice, easy pleasure just rolled through your memories on Teflon.
Yes.
And the bad meal stuck like Velcro. So just in those sort of habitual conversations where we're not really being intentional, the brain will pick the thing that is stuck the most.
And if we think about this from a therapeutic standpoint or trauma history, often people find it very difficult to remember the good stuff about their childhood. Not because there wasn't some, or because mainly it was just, we had fish fingers,
it was
and
fine.
then we watched telly. It was just fine. That was nothing. Whereas I remember the day my dad told me to, go up to my room and don't come down until the morning. I remember that because that's really sticky. But it might have only happened once.
And it's really interesting, isn't it, Phil, in the news at the moment with the political changes that we've got going on in the UK. And there was an interview this morning with the sort of ex-chief of staff of our soon-to-be ex-prime minister. And he's exactly been saying we should have been more positive from the get-go.
Yeah.
And it's just not where lots of us go instinctively.
Yeah. And actually that is really already pulling together, that's already seeding kind of the whole arcing umbrella over this whole thing is it is to our detriment if we forget about the emotional dimension, because for all the facts and all the issues and all of the real, definitely, but we can absolutely be, rationally say, well, that is the
definitely
truth.
Had that bad meal on holiday.
Yeah, definitely had that, but it's all true. Or, definitely, whatever the problems are in the country or community you live in. But we must remember how much more people are long-term affected by the emotional dimension. Yeah. So Roy Baumeister and colleagues did a landmark paper on this called Bad is Stronger Than Good. And it's worth just holding that phrase in mind for some of the tools that we're going to give, for sometimes how much effort you have to put in to shift from the negative to the good, because bad is stronger than good. So you've got to be a superhero positive. Yeah. You've got to be responsitivity on steroids.
And this is one of my favourite coaching topics, I have to say, because of that. Because the gap and the leap, it's a relatively sort of simple concept to get, but the gap and the leap in terms of the shift you can make in your communication and your leadership and your team culture is enormous. So once you get it, that's why I love coaching on this stuff. A quick word from us at 4D Human Being. If you're enjoying the show, please do click follow so that you can have the 4D Human Being podcast instantly in your feed. And we'd love it if you liked and reviewed us. Let us know what you think. Please do think of one or two people that you could share the 4D Human Being podcast with. Somebody who would really benefit from the content you're listening to right now. Back to the show. So responsitivity, you've said it a few times. I'm going to say it a few times.
Absolutely. So exactly as you said, we feel loss more than we feel an equivalent gain. Yeah. We feel the criticism more than we feel an equivalent praise. Yeah. So that is something we need to know that at the baseline for us to know that we have got a bias to override to get to responsitivity, Pen.
Exactly. So responsitivity. I'm going to say it again, Phil. I mean, if the listeners don't get this word embedded in their sticky memory by the end of this episode,
it's like advertising. You've got to say it again.
At least 7 times, they say, apparently. So responsitivity, as Philippa said, response and positivity. It's her new favourite mashup, and we're talking about intentional choice to respond with positivity. Responsitivity. Just going to say it again.
Say it again, Pen.
And it's about actively choosing. So it is firing up that more conscious part of ourselves. Although I would offer, once we get into the habit of this, it can become our sort of more of an autopilot way of operating. I certainly feel that over the years I've been, doing this kind of work, it's not that I always respond in a responsitivity way, but I definitely do it more often. I'm definitely more conscious of it. So we can get there. Yeah. And it's really, really important. So let's talk, first of all, some of the places we can think about this. So responding to a compliment, this is one of my absolute favourites. And again, I think this is true of lots of people in different cultures. It's beyond true in the UK. I was really thinking as we've been watching the World Cup that we have this strange sort of combination in the UK of absolute self-deprecation and humility. Like, we'll absolutely bat away any compliments. If someone says, "Oh, you look really nice today," and you'll go, "Oh God, no, I didn't have time to wash my hair." So we'll bat it away. But I do think there is something culturally about us that we think, in some ways, we think we're pretty great underneath it.
I think
it's a funny thing,
I think we have a pride, and that word can, of course, be negative and positive.
Yeah, and we can find it quite hard to share that pride.
It can veer into arrogance.
Exactly. So compliments. When people give you a compliment, it's a gift, and we'll tend to just sort of bat it away. It feels uncomfortable sometimes for some of us. Responding to feedback. I would say we most often talk about responding to feedback in our work, responding to negative feedback, and the fact that we find that very challenging. And actually, responding to positive feedback isn't always done in a very sort of skillful, thoughtful way. So, as Philippa said, I'll give you 10 compliments on one piece of development work. I will bat away or ignore those 10 compliments. And someone's taken the time to think about those and craft them and share them with you. Responding to questions. This is absolutely
how
brilliant.
are you?
Yeah,
not great.
Or even not bad is the word bad is in there.
Yeah, how was your holiday? Yeah, it's all right, but I'm back. I'm back home now.
I mean, busy is the word du jour, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
stressful.
Yeah, I very often will open a coaching session, particularly with coaches I haven't seen for a while. How things at work busy.
Yeah. How's the building project? Nightmare.
Yeah. So responding to questions.
How are the builders? Oh. Yeah, double the budget.
Yeah.
So simple questions or more sort of detailed questions. And as we said before, how we are responding in our own head, even if it's sort of not our turn to respond in a conversation, notice what's going on in your head as people are speaking, either thinking thoughts about yourself or thinking of thoughts about the topic. Just notice where they sit on the responsitivity scale. We've even got a scale now, Phil.
I mean, it's a growing concept.
It's practically a whole book, I reckon. So there's lots of different places where this is going to show up. And I think it's important to talk about why this matters so much, because part of this is very much about your sort of brand and your reputation. So how people see you, are you one of the people who always come in and sort of go, oh, well, the problem with that is, oh, I didn't have a good weekend. So it's how people see you. It's how people feel spending time with you, working with you. It's also about what you're sort of spreading to other people in terms of wellness,
contagion,
mental health, all of those kind of things. It's also your self-belief, so that, how you're processing things internally. We also spoke about the fact that it's a really good way to stand out from the crowd, because it's not that everybody does this.
Yeah, and that actually most people don't answer with responsitivity. Most people are in the negative bias. It's the water in our goldfish bowl. So it's such a quick way to seem different, to stand out, to be the person that people want to be around.
Exactly.
And the other thing that just comes up for me around that, because I've just thought of another thing, just moving from kind of your own personal profile, your own brand, through to what it's like to work with you, through to the contagion on other people, and actually even on top of that is opportunities. That if you ask someone how they are, or you say how was your holiday, and you've immediately got the negative, you're already kind of closing down that conversation. Whereas if you open up with what was positive, you're already in that, from an improvisation perspective, you're already in that build, and that is going to take you somewhere different. And who knows where that could go in terms of ideas, collaboration, possibility. Who wants to book their next holiday with the person who's just said it was absolutely dreadful?
100%.
And it's 100%. The same in projects.
And this is particularly true through uncertainty and change. And I'm really noticing the anxiety that people have got around change and uncertainty. It feels like the most honest way to respond to uncertainty is to highlight the problems, the negativity, the things we're worried about. I get it. There is an alternative. This is also about how you feel every day of your life. It's also about relationships, because what you're putting into the mix in terms of that responsitivity will then influence how that other person responds to you, and that whole dynamic will start shifting.
I couldn't agree more. And actually there is usually something, even in the toughest of times. If we go back to the pandemic, and we could all say, oh, it's dreadful, but actually, it's given me some real space to think. It's really made me appreciate the smaller things in life, or whatever it is. I had a chest infection recently, and as I was just sort of 70-80% better and started to go back to the gym and yoga, and people asked me how I was, and I was really conscious, because they said, oh, it's been really, must have been really awful. Oh, it sounds like it really lasted a long time. And so I was being presented with the kind of slightly downbeat. And I was really conscious to say, you know what? I'll tell you how I am. When you've had bad health and you suddenly feel at 80% again, you're like,
I'm on fire.
I'm on fire at 80%. I'm so good to feel even 80%. So it's finding that responsitivity.
The final thing I would say on that, and this will come through in the sort of intentional piece that we'll speak about, is I think it's really useful to think about your engagement, your communication as a gift to another person. And why do you want to give them the gift on a Tuesday afternoon dog walk? Why do you want to give them the gift of food poisoning in a Thailand hotel? For what end? Loads of places it can show up, loads of reasons why it matters, and it certainly matters in the workplace as well, in terms of team dynamics.
Well, because left unchecked, the negative response, it becomes the communication style of your team and your organisation, and then it becomes culture.
Yes.
It becomes how we talk around here. It becomes
the way that we are. And then
I like it when you say the water in the goldfish bowl.
Yeah, the water in the goldfish bowl. You don't even notice it.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, a couple of watch outs. It can feel like, or it can be justified, the negative response, as humility.
Yes.
And it can kind of masquerade, oh, I loved your presentation. Oh, I didn't think I did very well this time. It wasn't that good. And, you can kind of frame that as, well, I don't want to be too big for my boots, as we say. I don't want to be arrogant. So we offer humility. But actually, if you really stop and think about what you've done, somebody has opened the door to you or offered you a gift and you've said, no.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I won't have that.
Yeah.
Rather than just really working to try. Even if you don't want to see the positive, or it's too edgy for you to say, actually, I was really pleased with that middle section, or I was really pleased with the Q&A with the audience. Even if you don't want to be positive and celebrate something that you've done, you could be positive about what they say. What a nice thing to say.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking a moment to come and say that to me. That's really nice. It's really thoughtful, really kind. You could be positive about their response. And this is another big one to watch out for, that again, with that sort of humility piece, I think this is just so huge. We have a choice in those moments not to level down, but to level up. So if somebody says, oh, I'm really not very good at presenting, you did a really good job there, and you don't want to feel like you're out your higher status to them.
Where you might go is, oh yeah, well, I'm a bit rubbish too.
Yeah, I'm a bit rubbish too. Don't you worry, because I'm rubbish.
Yeah.
And so you want to level up. So when someone says, oh, I thought that was really bad, my presentation, I really didn't think I was any good. Or you want to bring everybody up. I thought you were so good, and I'm going to take that thing because I really want to add that into my presenting, because it's something I want to, I really want to give my audience a good time. That everybody starts leveling up rather than leveling down.
I'm great. I'm great. You're great.
Yeah, I'm great. You're great. Or you definitely improved, and I want to improve. Like, definitely, think about leveling up, bringing everybody up rather than humility, bringing everybody down, because that actually is a negative response.
Yeah.
And one more thing on that, it takes courage.
Yes.
It takes courage not to stay in the pattern of negative and small.
Yeah.
I'm going to play small. I'm going to say I'm a bit rubbish, and that's safer. Actually, it takes courage to say, you know what? Thank you. And I was really pleased with that as well, because I worked hard on it, and I really appreciate that you say that.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Responsitivity to yourself, Phil.
Yeah, exactly. So think about those everyday questions. How's your week? Compliments, performance conversations, messaging and emails as well. And obviously in leadership and our daily relationships.
And even if it's useful, just really sort of almost notice the ratio. I mean, we'll get onto things to notice, but I think emails is a really brilliant one.
Yeah.
In terms of, it doesn't mean that you can't say the problem.
Yes.
Absolutely 100%. Yeah. But we'll talk about that.
Well, especially as we're scanning those emails like the
Savannah,
we are. For the negative. We're not even, so you've got to put it in caps.
Yeah, you've got to put it in caps.
You've got to put it at the top, put it at the bottom, always open and close with the positive. Yeah. Exactly. Let's talk briefly about the neuroscience, just to back up why this is happening and what is actually physically happening when we go into responsitivity. So when we get a threat or a criticism, or even a perceived slight, or if we're remembering our holiday and we think
we've got that Velcro bit,
we've got that Velcro bit, we've got that negative, the amygdala, which is in that lovely sort of back of our brain, the limbic system, the early brain, fires up. So you've got that emotional response, and that is going to respond much, much quicker than our prefrontal cortex, which is why it has to be intentional, our response, because the neuroscience is much, much quicker to the emotional bing, to the alarm system of problem, danger, the bit that wasn't good, the bit I didn't enjoy, the Velcro.
Yeah, and it's useful for that to be quick. Like going back to the savannah, not much time.
We don't need the prefrontal cortex debating over a snake.
No.
We definitely want the quick response.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's really useful. But we have to remember this. When we get the trigger, the heart rate goes up and we go to the negative. Catch it, because it's quick.
Yeah.
But we can override it.
Yeah.
I say to so many people this week, if you cannot lead your own body and mouth, why are you leading other people?
Really
Start with leading your own body and language,
Yeah.
Here's just the last piece on the negative response neuroscientifically is John Cacioppo. found. So
you always manage to find Italian research.
Well,
I think it's
there's
because
a lot.
you love it.
But there's a lot.
There is in psychology.
Yeah,
actually,
there's
I
a
have to
lot.
say.
There's a lot of research done by Italians in psychology. So,
But we do also get a chance to hear your Italian pronunciation.
yeah, which is
also lovely.
always a treat. Thank you, but I'll take that compliment. Thank you so much. Responsitivity, negative stimuli. And that's internal and external, produces a greater surge of electrical activity in the brain. So you're literally being, if you were being electrocuted, it's a much stronger prod.
Isn't that amazing?
When we have a negative thought, or input. So we are literally wired to pay more attention to the bad. So I'll go back to the body. I've said so many times to people this week, the body is the easier door often because it's such a clear signal. It's like an alarm bell. And when you get the alarm bell of heart rate up or slightly uncomfortable or tense, and the next thing is the thought is negative, you've got all that messaging.
Yeah.
Stay in tune with your body, catch it, stop.
It's like a butterfly net. Just catch it in the net.
Yeah, catch it.
Hold on to it.
Drop your shoulders.
Yeah.
Take a beat. An answer from the prefrontal cortex. We sort of have to it's like letting the electrical surge release, isn't it?
Yeah. I wonder what the world would be like if the opposite was true.
Yeah, it would be like some sort of
nirvana.
Yeah, it'd be like some sort of nirvana. Now, on the responsitivity, remember neurocoupling. When I think you mentioned earlier that contagion.
Yeah.
When we respond with positivity.
Responsitivity.
Thank you very much. Good catch. Responsitivity, new phrase. Responsitivity, you're firing up the other person's brain in a similar way. You are giving them a gift from right inside their brains to go through their day now. So it's not just affecting your own brain state, it's affecting theirs.
Yeah.
And so you're doing a lot, and it means being super aware of not seeking connection through complaint. Seek connection through positivity. Both of us standing in a corner saying how terrible the world is. In a way, we're seeking connection. We're seeking sameness. But imagine what the world would be like, as you said, if we seek connection through how brilliant.
Yeah. Well,
brilliant moments we have.
It's a really interesting point in terms of, lots of discussions going on at the moment around sort of these silos in social media, particularly in terms of political beliefs and thoughts, and how we can get sort of siphoned off into quite negative conversations with groups of like-minded people. And we may feel a sort of connection, certainly in the short term, because it feels like, they're a bit like me.
Yeah.
My question would be, and where does that then take you?
Where does that go?
Where does that take you, both in terms of how you feel about yourself, the world, other people, and also in terms of solutions and better outcomes? Yeah.
It's closing down, isn't it?
Exactly. Is it going to lead to that? And whilst it can feel harder to pull ourselves into that more positive sharing and positive connection where we feel like we have things in common, there can feel harder to get there, much more likely to be longer term, make you feel good and lead to some outcomes.
It's fun Bobby and friends, isn't it? Yeah. You want to be around them because suddenly things are happening. Exactly. So just be aware of those kind of reasons why we do it, and that we can flip them. Sometimes we are fishing for reassurance. No, it wasn't very good. Really what we want is for you to tell me again that it was good. So say thank you so much. I'd love to hear 2 or 3 things that you thought were particularly good. If we really know what's going on, then we can do it in a positive way. Notice if your family members behave like this, and whether it's just simply learned. You've just been conditioned in this way, and it's not really your choice. It's just what you've kind of inherited.
Yeah.
And also, just check. That thing. It happens all the time. When you say touch wood, because I always think of this. The fear of hubris. If I get too grand, if I allow too much positivity, this is
it's like pride becomes before the fall.
Pride comes before the fall, exactly. If I allow that compliment in, if I allow myself to acknowledge that I did do a good job, I'm really tempting fate that next time I'll really screw up.
So superstitious.
So superstitious. Yeah.
So maybe a few stats.
Yes, go on.
On this. So I'll only give 2 or 3. So
first one to mention, which we have mentioned before on this podcast, is work from the Gottman Institute. And there's also work from Barbara Fredrickson's positivity ratio research. I did this in my master's degree, Phil, Barbara Fredrickson, many years ago. The ratio, if you like, of given that negative bias, given how much we've got that Velcro in our brains where the negative things will stick, what that, I'm just going to be thinking about that. I've just got this image now of like,
I know,
I'm going to say, like, you know, like, I'm going to say it, shit. Like shit sticking to Velcro. Like just,
that's what it's like.
Like rubbish and like detritus and rubbish.
And all
just
the nice
sticking.
things, all the sweeties and the candies. Are just
like
away.
floating off and all the nasty little... Yeah.
So what this means is that because of that... sticky shit. That's really...
Laura, don't call this episode sticky. SHIT, please.
So we have to work really hard, both for ourselves as leaders and colleagues and as partners, relationships. We have to work really hard to boost that positivity ratio. And there's various sort of beliefs and research on this. So Barbara Fredrickson talks about you need 3 positive things for every 1 negative thing. The John Gottman Institute spoke more about kind of a 5-to-1 ratio. Regardless of what the number is, basically what it's saying is if you want any of the positive stuff to stick, you're going to have to give it in volumes compared to the negative stuff. So that's the first thing to think about.
As a leader, if you've got one really tough bit of news, whack in 3 to 5 really good bits.
And they say that in marriages it's 15-to-1, but anyway, we'll part that from...
That's a lot of work if you've said something mean.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
We know that 89% of employees who leave organisations tend to cite relationship reasons, boss reasons rather than salary. Again, this is about that interactivity, the connection, and that always comes down to our communication. So really think about responsitivity there.
Yeah.
And then you are 6 times more likely to be disengaged at work if you believe that your manager focuses more on what you do wrong than what you do right. And what's really interesting...
that made me really shiver.
And what's really interesting, about 6 times more likely to be disengaged. And what's really interesting about this is that if I think about leadership and lots of sort of people that I've met, I think sometimes we can unconsciously believe that part of our job as leaders is to spot the stuff that people are doing wrong. And it's not that that's not true.
Yeah. It's how loudly we bang that drum, isn't it?
It's how we bang that drum.
Yeah, and it's how.
Recognising how easy it's going to be. Remember the Velcro? Remembering how easy it's going to be for your team members to feel and perceive, even if you don't think that this is you, to feel and perceive that you focus more on what they do wrong than what they do right. So real watch outs there.
Yeah. So it really is thinking about responsitivity. A really good way to think about it is rather than focusing on what's wrong or problematic, is focusing on what's good or possible.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be that you can't name what's difficult. It's becoming much more intentional. So if a deadline was missed or, a project got delayed, it's not to pretend that didn't happen. It's to start looking at, firstly, what was good. We would call this a neural reframe.
Yeah.
What were we pleased about based on what was happening and what was possible? And what can we do next time? What would we all love? So it's that very, very conscious response of not just looking at the problem, looking at what is possible.
Yeah. So big costs in terms of relationships, team dynamics, people retention, your own health, well-being and happiness, your own sort of ambition, success, where you feel you can get to, how you're seen. So lots and lots of reasons to really, really think about this.
This is not just sort of soft data. There's a real domino effect to negative responses, and there's a real cost ultimately. And it's like anything in terms of those incremental day-to-day moments of how we communicate, how we interact, and our responses. Is in the moment we think, well, it's tiny. It's just that moment in the corridor. It was one meeting. It was one phone call. It was one email.
Yeah.
But the drip, 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 it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. That eventually, as we said, it becomes culture until we're so, we're just drained or numbed or disconnected, like you said, disengaged. So this is not about looking for the dramatic moments where you sort of exploded with all the negative. I was terrible. Everyone did a terrible job. And you can really see that, you'd walk away from a moment like that and you'd be very clear. Oh God, I could have done that better. It's the small, ordinary, completely unremarkable moments that are dripping this leadership style, this communication style, this team culture, this organizational culture. So this is why that intentionality needs to be day to day, moment to moment to moment. Check in before every meeting. Check in before every conversation. Before you open your mouth. Literally, we would say to people, become aware of what falls out of your mouth, because it's the words that fall out that are usually the negative or the problem and we have to be conscious about responsitivity.
And I think it's really interesting, Phil, and I'll talk about this in one of the sort of awareness tools, that I don't know how much we are sort of taught to understand that what forms in our brain can be different to what we choose to come out of our mouths.
What a great point.
And I think lots of us, A, we don't think about it, but B, we sort of think, when thoughts have formed up here in my mind, that's the truth.
Yeah.
And I must say it. And if I don't, I'm somehow slightly being disingenuous or dishonest.
Yeah. And Goldman would talk about this as emotional intelligence and emotional self-management.
Yeah. And thoughts just happen. I mean, we can have so many random crazy thoughts.
Yeah.
That we really do not need to release from the mouth.
Well, also remember, they're happening from the amygdala and the Velcro.
Yeah.
Because that's the strong imprint. So we have to really filter.
I'm doing some really, really great work with my coach supervisor at the moment on this, in the context of coaching and the kind of questions that we ask and the messaging that we give. And I would really sort of share with leaders that your brains are working very, very quickly. It's why you're successful. It's why you're doing what you're doing. And you're spotting problems, things you want to say, things you want to change, etc., etc. Be mindful about what you choose to actually say to people. A, to get where you want to get to. B, think about how they feel.
Yeah. So let's go through the tools.
Some of the tools. So we'll do another episode. Okay, no, we'll do another episode to talk about some more tools in terms of communication. But here are a few quick things to think about. Notice the very first word that comes out of your mouth. But is a big one.
Yeah.
So notice if you've gone into the negativity rather than the responsitivity.
Yeah, the first word. No, or it isn't, or whatever you're going to say, the pushback.
Yeah.
Secondly, the internal scan. We've just talked about this. Before you respond to anything, get really used to doing that internal scan. Pause for 2 seconds. Are you grabbing for the negative, or can you form something positive?
Yeah. The 5-to-1 ratio audit. So whether this is on an email, a feedback session, in your partnership and personal relationships, can you pre or post a conversation or meeting, do a little mathematical calculation? What were my positive comments versus my negative comments?
Love it. The humility check. This is one of my favourites. I literally used it this morning. Notice whether you want to make yourself small or wasn't that good, and you can really use the body for this. And notice what happens if you just allow yourself to balloon a little bit and see whether that helps you start to formulate a more positive response.
Yes.
So the humility check.
And it can just be a little bit. It doesn't have to be
it doesn't have to be
big massive
huge.
balloon. The energy temperature. So we talk about energy a lot at 4D. So you can check out the energy tool on our 4D On Demand Impact series. So this really is about what energy are you taking into a conversation? What sits underneath the words that you choose? Is it an energy that's down here? Is it an energy that's up here? Because that will change the language you then choose.
And finally, number 6 is start to spot it in others. Be a responsitivity or negativity anthropologist. Start to notice, not because you want to judge them, not because you want to criticize them. Start to become aware of A, how much it's happening, and B, the impact on you and other people.
And we'll talk next time about how you can start shifting other people's negativity as well. So in summary, negativity bias is not a character flaw. It's there for a very good reason. It's overused, arguably, because it is our quick and unconscious response pattern system. Responsitivity. This is not about always being Pollyanna perfect and positive. It is about consciously choosing when a positive response might be more useful than that instant kind of negative problem bias that we have.
Yeah. Remember that deflecting a compliment is not humility. It's negativity bias, wearing humility as a mask, as a disguise.
Exactly.
Remember our 6 awareness tools. We've got that first word check, the internal scan, the 5-to-1 ratio audit, the humility check, the energy temperature, and spot it in others. Become an anthropologist.
And I will say one final thing before Philippa wraps up this episode. It matters, it matters, it matters.
Yes, remember, you are transmitting your state to other people. Yeah. So in the next episode, we are going to look at how to bring responsitivity to life. We're going to give you some tools to become that person.
I'll never get sick of that word.
Never get sick of that word. That can really transform your communication, other people's experience of conversations with you, and indeed the culture and dynamics of a team and organisation. In the meantime, do check out our 4D On Demand platform. Our impact and personal profile series
they talk specifically to some things that are really useful here.
Just packed with tools to help you do this on a day-to-day basis. And if you really like this, do share it with somebody that you liked, or maybe somebody that you find a bit negative and a bit miserable. Give them some responsitivity. Obviously, you don't have to tell them that. You say, "Oh, I thought you might like it. I did. Enjoy." And we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the 4D Human Being podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Do take on board some of the insights, tools and tips, because every time that you try something new to get back to choice, you are making a vote for the you that you want to become. And I love that phrase, Pen.
I do too. And please do share this episode with somebody that you know would really benefit from the lessons and learnings we've been chatting about today.
And of course, if you're interested in more from 4D Human Being, do get in touch. We run workshops, trainings, online, in person, conference events and keynotes. We've got the 4D On Demand platform for your whole organisation. And we do have a free Essentials membership where anybody can sign up for absolutely free to access some of our insights, tools and tips. So do get in touch with us if you'd like to hear more. We cannot wait to hear from you and to carry on the conversation.